Well, it's only one more week for Jacoby Brissett. We thought it was only the right thing to do to kind of talk about what kind of season he's had so far, give him his flowers while he can still smell them. He's been really a tremendous quarterback for us, and we're turning the ball and turning the keys over to Deshaun Watson. Before we do that, we want to talk about Jacoby and what he's been able to do as the Browns signal caller so far this year. And then we'll get to something that me and Jeff talk about all the time. Sometimes you don't know somebody's really bad until you actually examine. And there are a lot of guys on this defensive line that are bad. We'll talk about this and go down position group by position group on the defensive line and talk about which guys will actually be able to be here next year, because we don't think there's a lot of guys that are going to stick. Also, we'll do the exact same thing for the linebacker room. Some of the linebackers that they put some time, energy, and resources into have not paid dividends for the Cleveland Browns or Andrew Berry. We'll talk about that position group as well, because those are the two major weak spots for the Cleveland Browns defense and overall on the team. We'll do that coming up, and we'll take your questions, we'll get your comments, and we'll get you and what you think as well on this next episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. As the good lady says, your team every day. Before we kick it off here, just want to make sure, and we'll extend to everybody. Hope you have a great week this week. Thanksgiving week. Time to sit down, family, football. A little rest, relaxation before we pick up the busyness of what is December, the Christmas season. And for us here at Locked On Browns, the beginning of the Deshaun Watson era. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Barbershop 92.3 The Fan, pregame, postgame coverage, Buckeyes, Browns, Cavs, Guardians, Mr. Garrett Bush, at GBush91. Appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day, whether it's on your favorite podcast app or, of course, YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have your notifications on. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Help us out here, promote the show. We do appreciate you all for that. And the Roku app, search Locked On Cleveland Sports. You will find all the Locked On Cleveland Sports podcasts there. Of course, Locked On Browns. And, of course, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Today's episode of Locked On Browns is Prize Picks. Prize is daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using the promo code Locked On. Again, prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. As we said, before we go to the Deshaun Watson era, we are going to have to close out the Jacoby Brissett era here for the Cleveland Browns. And there's really no way to put it. For me, it has absolutely exceeded any expectation I had. The thought process was, when you were going to play a sustainable stretch with the guy who is not your guy, with a backup quarterback, you needed to put him in a position to succeed. You didn't want to put too much on his plate. There were weeks, obviously, where Jacoby was basically asked to win a ball game. Didn't work out, as we all know. But again, that wasn't a plan. Right now, through 10 games, through 9 games, 10 games. Jacoby Brissett, almost 2,400 yards, so 240 a game, 11 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, lost a crucial fumble last week. I didn't know a ton about Jacoby Brissett. And when a guy is not really a full-fledged starter in the league, it's kind of hard to get a read on a backup quarterback who's been for several teams. But Jacoby has just come in here. And, I said it yesterday with John when we were on. And if Jacoby Brissett was a 10%, 15% better athlete, we're talking about a guy who would be a full-fledged starter in this league. The arm strength is there. The read and recognition is there. Touch, accuracy, ball placement. You saw it on several balls thrown to Amari Cooper on Sunday. You saw it on the 2 deep balls to Donovan Peoples-Jones on Sunday. This guy really came in here, and it's a shame we're talking about a team whose record is 3-7, because it's always about the quarterback, and everybody, quarterback is everything in this league, that type of thing. But Jacoby Brissett has been such a special player that it's been difficult to understand how poor the defense has been just due to the play of Jacoby and this offense. And look, you're going to make a transition here, and we'll see the way it works out when Deshaun comes in, Garrett. But this guy has just been, in my opinion, I don't want to say flawless, but what you thought what the expectation was to play a second-string quarterback for an 11-game stretch like the Browns had, and you go and look at what this guy has done for this team day in, day out, week in, week out. You throw in the fact that he is a solid leader. You throw in the fact that he is just an overall good gentleman. He's going to go somewhere next year. He's going to play, and he's going to compete with either a young quarterback or a rookie, to talk about situations like the New York Jets, the Indianapolis Colts. There are several teams struggling at the quarterback position right now, where a guy like Jacoby Brissett, and the fact that he won't lose you ball games, really, really is appealing. And to Jacoby Brissett, I mean, just hats off, man. It's been a hell of a run, and we'll see if hopefully we can close this out with a W for him on Sunday.
Yeah, for me, Jacoby Brissett has, I was on board with saying, hey, a lot of people wanted Jimmy G, and for me, I would have, if they would have went after Jimmy G, if they would have thought that was the best opportunity for them to win games, I wouldn't have been salty about it. But there were a lot of people in the Cleveland market that was just so over the top about why aren't they going to get other people? Do they have Jacoby Brissett? And one of the things that, and I always tell this to everybody, our opinions don't really mean much in the scheme of things. I can say whatever I want about how good a person's going to be or not good they're going to be. Every person that puts that helmet on, from my former player perspective, you have an opportunity to prove somebody wrong. As a matter of fact, that's the only thing that matters. Doesn't matter what the talking heads are talking about. Don't matter what people say outside. You get an opportunity to go out each and every Sunday and prove your worth, and prove that you are what you say you are, and prove that you are a guy that's worthy of a starter position, a guy that is worthy of some accolades in this league. So my hat's off to Jacoby Brissett, because what he did is he just came out and played. And a lot of people will shut up. That's the great thing about it. Shut us up. Shut people up that don't like the fact that you're the quarterback. And he did just that. I thought he showed a level of toughness. I think he showed that his arm is a lot better than people gave him credit for. He fits balls in a lot of different places where a lot of dudes can't get the ball there. Nowadays, a lot of what we do is name brand recognition. A lot of what was going on is we give accolades to people who have done it before, or they have a name out there. And I said it, Jacoby Brissett is better than Baker Mayfield. And people was like, come on now, come on, G. Bush. Don't do it. Come on, Jacoby is nowhere near better. No, as we look at the performance this year, we can see unequivocally that he's better than him. He might not be a top 10 quarterback, but he's in the middle. He's a fringe guy, and he can win games for you. So if you're a team like the Jets, you're a team like the Commanders, you're a team like the Colts, and you don't have a clear-cut answer at quarterback, Jacoby Brissett is a guy that you can win some games with, and he will galvanize your team. It's not going to hurt your team. He's going to have good, solid leadership. But as for the Cleveland Browns, I would have really liked to keep him around. If you got to, they paid Case Keenum the most money they ever paid somebody to be a backup quarterback, and he's 10 times better than Case Keenum. I'd pay for Jacoby Brissett, because I'm going to fast forward this thing a little bit. I already said it. Starting off next year, Coach Stefanski is on watch. Coach Stefanski is on the hot seat already. And the problem is, if you go 1-4, 2-5, starting the season out of here, you're in trouble. So if Deshaun Watson, God forbid, goes down, but if you're the Cleveland Browns, you're supposed to envision all the bad things that can happen, because for us, it usually does. If Deshaun Watson goes down and he's out for a long stretch, I don't want to hear none of this. Well, we lost to Sean. That was most of our offense. We're going to go 4 and something next year too. No, you got Jacoby Brissett, give him a bag of money, and you tell him, hey, sit tight, because you got a guy who hasn't played in 2 years. Who knows what he's going to do? Who knows what his legs are going to be like? You got to work yourself back in shape, work yourself back in game atmospheres. He's already had a couple of knee injuries. He's tore his ACL one time in Clemson. He's tore his ACL one time with the Houston Texans. So let's just be clear out here. It's not 100% knock out of the park if you think Deshaun Watson is not going to have any injury issues with the Cleveland Browns. So I keep him on, and I bring him back no matter what. I don't care. Overpay him. Just do it.
It's not a terrible thought process, G. It's not. But the problem is, for Jacoby Brissett, if the opportunity is there to go be somebody's guy, it's really difficult to turn that down. You know what I'm saying? Somebody called you, somebody called me with a better opportunity, better money, and it gets to be, we get to be a higher platform. It's really hard. And for Jacoby, you may only get one opportunity. So it's really difficult to, see a scenario where he sticks around. And just so some of you Browns fans know, they actually really like Kellen Mond from what I'm hearing. I'm surprised. You're surprised. And there's a reason Kellen Mond has been on the active roster the entire season to this point. We're going to switch it up here, and we're going to go a little bit to let you guys and try to have you guys understand just how dire it is on the defensive side of the ball with some of these positional groups, and where they stand going further, because there are some wholesale changes coming to the defensive side of the ball. That's coming up next. Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush on your latest Locked On Browns. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the United States, the UK, Canada, and come into Australia. Book a spacious SUV or van for a family road trip. Get a classic luxury car for a special event, birthday, or a holiday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. Test drive that new electric vehicle you've had your eye on to see how it fits you in your everyday life. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. We talk all the time about prize picks, daily fantasy. Imagine last night if you put together a lineup of maybe Jimmy G and George Kittle, and maybe Debo, Christian McCaffrey, and even Ayuk. You would have cleaned it up. This is how it works. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they go score more or less than the prize picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It's literally just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offer projections on any sport you watch. It includes the NFL, the NBA, MLB, NHL, men's, women's, collegiate athletics. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, no space. You deposit $100, they give you $100. You deposit $50, Prize Picks will match your $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
Welcome back to Locked On Browns podcast. It is G Bush in the building. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at GBush91. And then you can follow Jeff on Twitter as well. Follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. And make sure you follow the Locked On Browns podcast as well on Twitter. Hey, guys, we've been trying to do this live thing. 48 people right now watching live early in the morning. We appreciate you guys. We're going to try to go get more live to get that instant reaction, to get some of your reaction to what we're talking about. So we're going to continue to try to move and do this throughout the rest of the year. So if you want to know when we're going on live, the best way to do so is go on YouTube, subscribe to the Locked On Browns podcast. You'll be able to go on there, click the notification bell, and then hit all. You want all of the notifications so you'll know exactly. It'll come directly to you, whether it's in your smartphone or whether it's on your computer if you're up that early. So you can listen to the Locked on Browns podcast wherever you are. First segment, we talked about just how good Jacoby Brissett was, and he's really shown himself to be a competent quarterback in this league. Now let's talk about the incompetence. Let's get to the bad stuff. Defensive line for this team. Oh my goodness, man. If you haven't saw this episode, go back and watch it. John Costco just reading off the answers, just reading off the PFF scores for some of these dudes. I mean, these scores are in the 20s and the 30s. And mind you, this is out of 100. The Browns are historically bad defense up front. They are worse than they were when they were 1-31. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. You went 1-31, and the guys you have today are worse than that group of guys. Jeff, as we look down some of this roster and we look at some of the position groups in the middle, obviously Tommy Togiai, he's still under contract, rookie deal. You got Jordan Elliott, who is another guy who's been here for a while. I believe he has one more year. You get Taven Bryan, who just signed a deal. He's the guy that looks like he has some time left on his deal. Perrion Winfrey, we don't even know where you at. They might have just put Perrion Winfrey in witness protection or permanent timeout. We ain't even seen you, bro. Like, who knows where he's at? He might be back in Norman, Oklahoma, man. He got an apartment with your boy Baker. I mean, Baker went back to school. But up front, if it was up to me, I cut all of them because I don't think they're good at anything. I think that these guys don't understand. And people always talk about, well, getting rid of Joe Woods isn't going to do anything. Sure, it will. It'll tell people, hey, look, I either might want to sell my soul in an off season and do whatever it takes to get better, or the guy that was putting me in games ain't here no more, and I'm pretty sure the next guy come in won't be too excited with what they see on film. So for me, I'm not a big fan of Jordan Elliott. Never was. Not a big fan of Tommy Togiai. No hate on against the Buckeyes, but Tommy Togiai was a guy that would just try hard. He worked hard. He tried hard. He benches a lot of weight. That's not going to get it done in the league. You got to have a skill set here. I don't see any of the guys that are pushing the pocket. They get double teamed way too easy. They don't change the line of scrimmage. They're very limited when it comes to the pass rush ability, and overall, they're just not very stout. So that all of that, I have to put it in subtitles. You know what that meant? All that meant was 200 yards a game on the ground. That's what we should say. Your thoughts on the defensive tackle, defensive line, Jeff?
Well, I mean, this is simple if you look at it, and Pee, we guys see you, bro. Myles Garrett, obviously there's no question about it. Myles Garrett is here. Jadeveon Clowney, $14 million. Jadeveon Clowney, last year at $8 million, you had a really, really nice player. This year, Jadeveon Clowney making more money. You were getting 75% less production. It might be more, Garrett. Can he close out this season like he did last year? Where he played strong down this. We'll see. But, I think the time for Jadeveon Clowney here with the Browns, unless he's willing to take a massive pay cut, is over. Then you get to the rest of the defensive end room. Alex Wright, look, we kind of knew it was a struggle. We talked about this when it was first drafted. Isaiah Thomas was drafted in the 7th round. Alex Wright was drafted in the 3rd. Isaiah Thomas was more ready to contribute right away than Alex Wright was. Younger, played at UAB, didn't play the competition. It's going to be a huge offseason for Alex Wright. And if I was Alex Wright, first thing I would say is, Miles, can I go home with you? What do you do all offseason? Because that's what I want to do to be great. So that's 3 guys I'm keeping there. Chase Winovich, another free agent. Chase Winovich, oddball here. The Browns like 6'5", 260-pound defensive ends. Chase Winovich ain't built like that, ain't performed like that. The Chase Winovich era is done. So that puts you at 3 defensive ends that I am going to keep. Defensive tackle, Jordan Elliott's going into year 4. Unless somebody wants him, he's probably going to camp, but the plan is to bring in free agents and rookies, hopefully beat him out. Taven Bryan, it was a 1-year deal. And I'm not hating on Taven Bryan, but to say, Taven Bryan's probably been the best D tackle this year, yeah, that's great. But what are we comparing it to? I mean, John Costco last year gave you grades of every single buddy who's going to repeat the grade the next year. That's how bad they were playing. They were basically going to get held back. Tommy Togiai, look, sometimes the want to and you can do everything you need to do. But if you ain't got the talent and you can't get it done on the field, it don't mean a hill of beans. Tommy Togiai will be a guy that goes to camp, but again, most likely looking to be replaced by a free agent or a rookie. Perrion Winfrey. I'd say it's an indifferent with Perrion Winfrey. Like G said, nobody knows where he is. Is he injured? Is he not injured? Is he in the doghouse? Is he not in the doghouse? You've seen like one or two plays this year where you're like, all right, there's a guy with a little bit of fire, but then, there's been a lot of freelancing, having no idea what he was doing. Perrion Winfrey, he's probably got a better shot to make this team next year than anybody else does, but it's going to take a lot of work on Perrion Winfrey's part, and it's going to be on-field work, and it's also going to be between the ears. You got to have yourself committed to be a player in the NFL. We're going to get to the linebacker room here. And again, this is another group where if you're looking for the future of this franchise, there are more questions than there are answers. Appreciate you all for being with us here. We told you guys everybody was kind of going to be like an afternoon thing, but with Thanksgiving week, it's a little bit of a condensed schedule for Garrett over at Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Just a lot more in the air as, look, we're still family people. We got to be ready to, go through the holidays too as well. So, doing things a little different, not going to be the norm, but appreciate you all for being around. Anyway, we're going to get to the linebackers here. And if, you already cried through that first issue, you might want to go grab a couple more. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, they've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, oh yeah, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They are always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fixed. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Like you said, we right back at it. G. Bush, Jeff Lloyd, Locked on Browns podcast. We just went over all of the defensive linemen that we thought may be out of here.
Three.
Yeah,
we may got three for 2023.
We may got three. Right? We might, we doing all kind of bargain shopping. We at the thrift store looking for D tackles. But I'm gonna tell you what, while we're there, we might want to pick up some linebackers too, because this unit, oh my God. So JOK, and I'm gonna give this up too. And I'm gonna come kind of go quickly through this because there's two questions in the chat that I'm gonna throw out to Jeff because I think they're pretty good questions. JOK had a bunch of tackles last week, but it's so crazy when you watch the all 22. Boy, I tell you what, he's just out of his gap. He can't be a guy that you count on to be a gap assignment guy. He gets a lot of tackles, and this is what I said earlier in the season. They need to make him like a Troy Polamalu, a guy who does not have very many responsibilities, but he just goes and he roams, makes plays, reads the quarterback's eyes, runs sideline to sideline. If you're going to do that, you have to have a front four that can do two things. They need to be able to stop the run, and they need to be able to rush the passer with four. As constituted, you're not even close to that. So you got to say JOK cannot play that way. Second of all, you look at Phillips, you look at what's his name, Tony Fields. Nah, bro. Phillips and Tony Fields are not playable. Even when Phillips was here, he was grading in the 40s. Those two guys, and you look at it, how great is Walker gonna? Anthony Walker, is he gonna come back? And I don't know too many veterans that are in their 9th or 8th, 7th, 6th year have a major catastrophic injury and come back better than they were. I don't know if that's the thing. So are you gonna bring Anthony? He was only on a 1-year deal anyway. You got Taki. We've talked about it here on this channel. Taki is also another guy that, guess what? He's a free agent coming up. I think he's probably the most solid out of the guys that we got. So here's the thing. Linebacker is a position of major weakness on this team as well. They got somebody with potential in JOK, but I think they all have to look and spot shadow that place as well too, in getting some new guys in here.
I couldn't agree more with you on Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa. This is a guy that basically you just say, seek and destroy, find a way to make a difference. But in order to do that, you have to have 10 players playing functionally, assignment-driven, and with each other within the system. So look, JOK going to be here. I got no problem with that. And I got no problem with his style. But you look at his play style, and it doesn't work with the way this defense is currently working because they're just getting beat down. Sione Takitaki, I don't know how it works, and linebacker contracts are very, very weird. Some guys get loaded up. Some guys get treated like they are scrap mill players. Me, I want to find a why, because the thing that I have seen most this year is anytime I hear a thud or I'm looking for somebody with some heart, it's usually 44 who's a big part of that. I want to keep Sione Takitaki here by any means necessary. Granted, we're not talking $8, $9, $10 million, but if there's a way to make it work with Sione Takitaki, I'm down for that. Anthony Walker, yes, I totally with you. The injury is what's going to make it difficult. You know, how much will Anthony Walker be of the Anthony Walker that did play for this team for 2 years? And you do need to understand, huge. Anthony Walker's huge. This is the guy that you were looking for as far as a leader, talking to people. You know, hey, look, you're playing like crap right now. If you listen to me, I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong, and we're going to get you right if you listen to me. Look, Deion Jones, good, done. You know, free agent anyway. You can go. Jacob Phillips, you know, another guy going to camp. You got the opportunity, you know, to be there. Ideally, somebody outplays him. Tony Fields played at West Virginia, and West Virginia played a 3-3-5, which basically meant they were playing dime all the time, blitzing one linebacker, and the other two guys were playing underneath. I don't know how he functions in a traditional NFL defense, and you see it week in, week out. But another clue that has a guy that has no idea what's going on. I'd rather see Jordan Kumazek get some reps here over the last couple of weeks because, again, I'm looking for guys who are going to give heart and effort. That's what I want at this point. You know, even if you weren't the most talented guy in that room, show me you're going to go out there and you're going to do everything. Even if you get run over by a guard, at least tell me you were in the hole where you were supposed to be. And that is the issue. You know, when you hear me, you know what I'm saying, G.
Yeah.
At least be there. At least be there. Because players like JOK and Grant Delpit, these players are looking worse than they are due to other people either not performing their role whatsoever or not getting it done in their role, and it's affecting other guys on defense. But as far as the linebacker room, yeah, I'm going to bring back JOK. I got a couple of guys that I hope do not make the team. I want to make it work with Sione Takitaki. And if Anthony Walker, the health is there, I will find a way to bring him in because I need a veteran. I need a leader. I need somebody that keeps the core together. But this is another room where, I mean, you're talking, if not 50%, more of that room is going to be completely new in 2023. Andrew Berry, you got some big, big work ahead of you.
All right, man. Let's get to our first question of the day. We got two of them here. This is from Kid Wilson 33. Question: Do you think all coach? Maybe if I could read early in the morning. Do you all think Coach Callahan is going to keep coaching for a while? Not only are we wasting player talent, we are wasting good coaching from Coach Callahan. Listen, that's another big thing. One of the reasons I looked at it is I didn't want to deal with not having Coach Stefanski. Is the fact that usually if Coach Stefanski gets fired or the head coach gets fired, the next coach comes in and picks his staff, right? So that's one of the saving graces for Coach Stefanski is I'm like, nah, if we're going to be built this way, I at least want the offensive coach, the offensive line coach to still be here, Jeff, because he's one of the best in the business. To me, he's the best in the business. And we've dealt before with bad offensive line play and bad offensive line coaching. Now that we see what the Rolls Royces of a coach it looks like at that position, I'm not trying to switch that up. Your thoughts?
I agree. Look, Coach Callahan, here's the thing. The way his title and everything works, Coach Callahan essentially coaches for the Cleveland Browns where he doesn't coach unless the Browns mute Joel with Wyatt Teller, that they're close. The relationship they all have together, he wants to be with these guys. He's been in the league for, is it maybe time where he's going to say, I'm done, and he's going to, basically take his ball and go home. But if the Browns want coach to keep coaching for them, that is his choice really is to either retire or his choice is to coach the offensive line for the Cleveland Browns because they basically have an associate head coach attached to that. So, hey, by all means, no, I don't think anybody wants Coach Callahan going anywhere.
Let's get to the second question. If we traded Myles Garrett in theory, what realistically could we get back for him? If you traded Myles Garrett realistically, I will tell you this. Myles Garrett realistically, you could get 2 number 1 picks, he would almost get the same level as a quarterback. We gave up 3 number 1 picks for Deshaun Watson. I think if you traded Myles Garrett, you could get 2 number 1 picks. You possibly can get a second. You might be able to get a late round pick after that, maybe a 4. And because if you guys watch, and this is a scary thing about it, every other organization in the league knows how good Myles Garrett is. He's just happened to be playing on the Cleveland Browns and with the incompetent defensive coordinator. Everybody else knows how good he is. You go look at his PFF grades, and if he played, you got to think about it like this: he'd be the missing piece for about 75% of the league. Myles Garrett on any other team naturally makes them automatically almost a Super Bowl contender, especially if you already got a defensive end right now. Come on, especially if you already got a defensive end. What do you think Myles Garrett's trade value? Even though we're not trying to trade him, by the way, we don't want to throw that in, Jeff.
Well, see, this is why I love the way he phrased the question, because in theory, yes, no, Myles Garrett's not going anywhere. You look at the Dallas Cowboys beating the daylights out of the Vikings. You know what happens? Their guys get to take rests, legitimate rests, 4, 5 reps, and then they just have more guys. Look at the Niners last night. More guys. Like, you need a rotation of 8, 9 guys who can get it done. That way you can mix in a 33-year-old veteran and be honest with the guy and say, look, I only need you 10, 12, 15 reps. We're going to pay you a nice little amount of money. You ain't got to play a lot. You hopefully can play every week. So, yeah, 2 1s, no question about it. 2 1s. Myles Garrett is a guy who's going to accumulate 100 career sacks in this league. Myles Garrett is going to be named as a potential Hall of Famer one day. This is the type of talent this guy has. I know some people either, Myles and, Nick, they want Myles and Nick Chubb ain't wired like that, dude. Like they're the guys showed up for the company. I did everything I could. You rewarded me. Yeah, it sucks that this team sucks. It sucks that we can't put together 2020 several years in a row. They ain't going nowhere. But yeah, it would be 2 1s. But the problem is you're looking for more guys like Myles Garrett. Not trying to trade away Myles Garrett in the hopes that maybe one of those guys is a Myles Garrett. But yes, 2 first-round picks minimum. We got to this here, and look, Jacoby Brissett, and I know he'll be there tomorrow. Nick Chubb's taking over the food drive that Baker Mayfield used to run. Just quality individual. We got to give the opportunity here to speak and extrapolate on Jacoby Brissett because it's warranted. It's deserved. The defensive line room, it's in shambles. Absolute shambles. Even some of the big names ain't getting it done. They're just not. Some young guys need to step up, but a lot of changes coming. The linebacker unit, and this is one of the biggest issues with the linebacker unit. You're moving so many guys in and out. There's no cohesion. 0 cohesion. And linebackers, that's the biggest key, because when you're in the middle, you need to go to the guy on the left. You need to go to the guy on the right. You need to know how they brush their teeth. You need to know what they need, how they take their call. You need to be so in sync with these guys to function as a unit. And when you turn around, say, wait, who put Tony Fields on the field? Somebody put Tony Fields on the field? Oh, great. So not only did I cover this run gap, I most likely got to cover that run gap too. So there are major changes. And look, for Andrew Barry, look, you took a lot of swings. Guys didn't pan out. They did. And it's a fact. It just is what it is. But it's back to the drawing board, baby. So with all that being said, he is Garrett Bush, part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, part of the Barbershop Saturday mornings, 92.3 The Fan. And, of course, pregame, postgame coverage for the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Cavaliers, and the Guardians. And make sure you're following at GBush91, myself, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. We appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen every day, whether it's on your favorite podcast app, here on YouTube. Subscribe, notifications on, click those likes for us, kids. We appreciate it. Helps us with the promotion. And if you got Roku, crack that sucker open. Search Locked On Cleveland Sports. Find the Locked On Browns podcast, Guardians, Cavaliers, and, of course, G. Bush and a crew over at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go, Browns.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.